Hello, I'm Linda Goodman, and this is a presentation of the Pleasantville Garden Club. One of our area's greatest attractions is the Stone Barn Center for Food and Agriculture right here in Pocantico Hills. It's a great educational opportunity and garden resource. Today I have with us Judy Fink, who is the Director of Educational Programs. Hello, Judy.
Hi, Linda. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. I wonder if, beginning, we could state the center's mission. You could tell us how it began,
Sure.
Why it began, and what they accomplish on a daily basis.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
Okay.
Stone Barn's mission is to celebrate, teach, and advance community-based food production and enjoyment, which is a mouthful. But basically what we want people to have when they come to Stone Barns is an experience of understanding where their food comes from, how to grow food locally, sustainably, and seasonally, and also to just really love the process of doing that. So we welcome people to come and participate in programs, get their hands dirty, learn about what it's like to grow food locally, and hopefully walk away with some hands-on experience and to be able to continue the process on their own. So we've been in existence. We just celebrated our 5th anniversary on May 2009. We opened in May 2004. And we're a farm-based education center with a seasonal farm where we raise vegetables and animals for food. We have a very vibrant education center where we have over 6,000 school children come to the farm every year, as well as many public programs for people to learn about farming.
Okay.
And then we have a for-profit restaurant that rents from the facility, Blue Hill at Stone Barns.
Yes, yes, I'm familiar with that. So it's had wonderful reviews. It's a wonderful place. The people, though, that are not generally interested in farming, how do you try to get them interested? I would think that food is you want to try to get them to enjoy the locality of their produce and the freshness of it. Do you try to do that with your programs? I would imagine.
Right.
And,
well, everybody eats.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
So we try really hard for people to learn how to make those connections. You know, many of us are very much disconnected from the source of our food, and you know, we're finding more and more, and I'm sure you're finding this with the Garden Club as well. People are really interested in how to grow plants of any kind, whether to just look at them for enjoyment or whether to be able to eat them. And with issues of food and food security, that's become more and more of a desire of many people.
That's true. That's true. And getting back to the physical plant of Stone Barns, it's a beautiful, beautiful place to visit, and that alone can be very interesting for people who think maybe they don't have any interest in farming or growing vegetables, and yet they see how it works, and it helps them understand the importance. Why don't you touch briefly on the programs that you do run? And then we can go into some of them in more depth.
Sure. But, and before I do that, though, Linda, can I just talk a little bit about when you come to Stone Barns, what it looks like and what you...
Yes, that would be wonderful, yes.
So we're 80 acres, and it's the 80 acres are in fields. We have about 6 acres are in food production, including a 4 Seasons greenhouse and a beautiful field that's at its height of its glory right now. We have about 22 acres in livestock pasture. We've got a beautiful, beautiful, historically significant set of barns that were built in the 1930s where we have a variety of different programs. And we have woods, and we have our backyard is the Rockefeller State Park Preserve. So there's that opportunity for people to have that farm and forest experience. So my programs are I run programs for children primarily, and also programs for teachers. It's more of the formal part of the education program. My counterpart, Netta Johnson, runs public programs. She's the public programs director. So we have school programs, field trips for children, kindergarten all the way through college. The children come to the farm. I shouldn't say children, I should say students, because many of them are adults. Monday through Friday. Today we had a field trip of 2 second grade classes from the Springhurst School in Dobbs Ferry. So most of our programs are for students in Westchester County. However, we do have students come from New York City and some other local counties, as well as some students from Connecticut.
Are these single visits, or do they come back for a series of visits to?
Great question. We have, in the past, up until this year, all of our programs were single programs where the children would come just for one field trip. We do provide teachers with pre and post information so that they have packets of information if they want to follow through. This year we just started a pilot program with 2 different schools, our neighboring school, Pecanico Hill School, and Main Street School in Irvington, where the children, 4th grade students from Main Street School, 2nd grade students from Pecanico Hill Schools, have been coming for 3 sessions. And so they're learning about the seasonality of the farm. They're getting to experience...
How far apart are those visits?
The Pecanico Hill School came in September, in March, and then they're coming again next week.
So they see the changes.
Right.
That's great.
Right, and the focus, and so they're learning more in depth about how a farm works, what it means to raise animals, grow food. And
they can see the differences from one season to the next as well.
Right, and we're able to build on those experiences. Part of that is also training teachers. So a very significant part of that is we have a staff development piece with the teachers where we work with the teachers twice, and they help us and we help them develop follow-up opportunities for children. So that's, I'm really happy with how that's working, and you know, hopefully in the future we'll continue with these 2 schools next year, and perhaps we'll expand that program afterwards. We also offer scholarships for high need districts. There are 4 high need districts in Westchester County as a designation from the State Education Department. Yonkers, Peekskill, Portchester, and Mount Vernon. These are schools that have significant free and reduced lunch programs in the districts. So we have some amount of funds where we can offer to have those children come to our programs for free, which has been very valuable.
And that's part of the K through 12 program.
Yes.
Right. Then you have an after-school program and a growing farmer. So let's touch on those.
So we're trying to meet the needs of children from the very young, through adults and seniors as well. So we have a program that we call Growing Farmers, and that's a preschool program for children that are 3.5 to 4.5. And
they come with their parents or without?
They don't. They come on their own.
Them off.
We have a wonderful woman who is working with them. Her name is Eliza Luttrell, and they come 4 times for 1-hour programs, and there are games and songs and craft activities and getting hands dirty activities on the farm as well. We have after school, they're somewhat more like clubs than school programs for children. One group for younger children is called the After School Explorers, and that's for 5- and 6-year-olds. And then we have the Farmers in Training, which is a program where we're hoping, these are children that will become so interested in farming that they'll become CITs at our summer camp and perhaps counselors, and then who knows, maybe even farmers.
And then the Boy Scout and Girl Scout program?
Right, that's also after school. So if a scout troop would like to come and...
They come as a troop, as a group, okay.
Right. And that's after school. That's an hour to 2-hour programs, depending upon what.
Is that a merit badge? Yes. Can they earn a merit badge on that one?
They can.
So that's
a lot of
great.
fun.
Yes, and you get them young, and you get them interested, and hopefully it sustains them through adulthood.
That's right.
Yeah. You also have a summer camp. Well, that's very timely.
It's very
exciting. So maybe you'd like to talk
Yes.
about summer camp and vacation camp.
Sure.
Okay.
So our summer camp starts at the end of June, and it runs for 8 weeks, and there are 1-week and 2-week sessions.
And how is that received? Are you
full?
It's
great.
Is it too late to sign up?
We have just a handful of openings that are left. We start registering in early winter, and that fills up really, really quick. It's a very popular camp. And the children that come to farm camp, kindergarten through 8th grade, and they work at the farm. They do farm chores. They move fences for the sheep. They collect eggs. They cook with. We have one of our counselors is a nutrition specialist, so she's cooks farm fresh snacks with the children, so they get to do that.
They harvest it and they clean it and they cook it.
And then, typical camp activities, there are lots of songs and games and crafts, but really the focus is on farming and what that's all about. And and at the end of the program, whether children are there for a week or 2 weeks or even for more than that.
They can do either?
They really feel very much a part of the farm, and they bring their parents and they do tours, and they understand seasonality.
It's a full-day program? Full day?
Yep, 9:30 to 3. For
all age groups?
Yes.
Okay. And it lasts for, they can do 1 or 2 or 3 week
They can do, we have
sessions?
1 week programs for young, we have a 1 week program to begin and end the summer. And then there are 2 week sessions throughout the summer. However, for the younger children, they can do 1 week sessions all summer long.
How young are the
going in kindergarten all the way through 8th grade.
That's great.
It's really fun. And we have 80 to 90 children at the farm every week.
Right. And the vacation camps for the spring vacation or
for
winter
February
vacation?
and spring vacation.
Yeah. Okay, so the February vacation, it's very interesting. It was interesting to me to realize that so much was going on at the center, even in the wintertime when all our home gardens are pretty dormant.
Right.
So maybe you could tell us what's
happening in the winter.
In the winter,
Sure.
we're all in relation to the vacation camp anyway.
Sure. Well, we pride ourselves on being a 4 seasons farm, and people need to eat all year round. Though in the Northeast, it's pretty hard to be able to raise food in the winter. So we have a half-acre greenhouse where we are raising mostly salad greens and some root crops, carrots and turnips in the wintertime. We also have
in the greenhouse.
In the greenhouse, and it's a minimally heated greenhouse. The greenhouse goes down to about freezing. If you come, it looks like a Christo sculpture. We put horticultural fabric over the plants so that they don't freeze. And the plants actually grow very slowly in the winter, but taste better because the sugars concentrate in the leaves and in the roots. So when children are at the farm in the wintertime, they're doing chores in the greenhouse. We might have them clean out a bed or help with a harvest. And then we also have we concentrate our animals in our winter barnyard from pretty much November up until late March, early April, because there's no grass for them to be eating.
Right.
So the children can collect eggs from the chickens. They can watch the sheep. They can visit the pigs. The pigs are close by in the woods and also in that concentrated area of the barnyard. So the farm is very pristine in the winter. It's quiet. There's a lot going on, and there's opportunities to learn about animal habitats in the winter.
Yeah, it must be very interesting for them to realize that so much does go on. Even in the wintertime. But I was reading, I think in my research or on your website about we're the same latitude here in the Northeast as Provence, France, and Barcelona. And I guess growing goes on year-round there. So with only a little bit of help, it can happen here as well. And you're proving that at the center. And I guess home gardeners probably could do some of that as well.
Right. And when we were developing what our farm would look like, one of the people who consulted with us is Elliot Coleman, who is a farmer in Maine. He has written several books. He's basically the 4-season gardening expert. A good example of being able to do that in your backyard is you could have an unheated hoop house. You can have a little plastic greenhouse and grow vegetables. I'm going to try to do that this winter in my backyard vegetable garden. To grow vegetables under cover with just a little bit of protection to extend the season and even to start it earlier in the spring.
I think that's a good tip
for
everyone. So I know you were talking earlier about some conferences that you're doing, vocational conferences, which I'd like you to elaborate.
Sure. Netta Johnson, who, as I mentioned, is my counterpart, is
she's a public programs.
She's public programs director, and her focus. She focuses on many programs for adults, vocational programs, home gardener programs, where we involve our farmers in those programs. But one of the things that she's really focusing very strongly on, and this has become very important for us at Stone Barns, is how to train young people to become farmers, to encourage people. As many of us know, farming is an aging profession. So in order for us to be able to make sure that we have a quality food source, people need to be growing food. So we had a conference last December called the Young Farmers Conference. We had about 125 young farmers, and young farmers we mean anywhere from college age through their 30s. People who have just started to farm, who might not have their own land, but who might be leasing land from somebody else. And this was an opportunity for these people to get together, learn some very technical skills in farming, also to network to find out where there might be opportunities for them to farm. Maybe there are opportunities for them to be able to work at some kind of a land trust that is dedicated to farm conservation. And it was a very exciting conference. So we're having our second annual Young Farmers Conference this coming December. We also
Where do these people, where do they come from, these students? all over the
They were farmers
region,
and students. They were all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
They were mostly the Northeast. We had some people come from the Midwest. We had quite a few people come from California for that conference, which was great. And several people from Europe.
Are they high school, college age?
Most of them were, I would say, in their early 20s to early 30s. Okay. So many of them had graduated from college, and some of them had worked as volunteers or interns on a variety of different farms. Many of them have quite a few years of farming under their belts.
That's great. That's and you had a great turnout.
It was wonderful.
Right.
And then the other conference that we're looking forward to in November is a farm-based education conference. Nena and I are both board members of this new organization. It's 2 years old, called the Farm-Based Education Association, and it's an organization that's working with farms to develop an educational component so that children and students and youth, people of all ages, can learn what it's like to participate in growing their own food. So our conference will be held at the Doubletree in Tarrytown right after Veterans Day, and we will have many of our programs will be held at Stone Barns, and that'll be an opportunity for people who are working in the field, who are interested in farming, interested in learning about farming and teaching about farming will be there.
Right. I mean, there are programs in colleges where you can get credit or degrees in some kind in farming, right? Does this play into that? Do you feed into those schools, do they participate?
That's a really good question. That's an area where that's somewhat of an untapped resource. We would like to participate more in programs with colleges. One of the ways that we are making that connection is through having interns at our farm. Right. So that we have contacted many colleges that have sustainable farming and growing programs, as well as ag programs, who want to have an opportunity for their students to have some hands-on learning. So we do have interns at our farm. Many are from programs like that. Many are not. Many of the students that come are from liberal arts programs who want to learn about farming. Many of the interns who come are not even in college. They just want to be able to learn for their own professional growth or personal growth. So we have interns working with our livestock farmers, with our Four Seasons growing farmers, and with Nena in public programs to help with policy programs, and also with me in education programs. So we have probably in the summer, at the height of our season, we probably have about 15 interns who are working with us.
And do you have interns year-round, though, or is
it slows down in the winter?
They're not available, really. They're probably in school.
Right. We do have some, but not many. It's mostly late spring through summer and early fall. And some students are getting credits through their colleges. Some students aren't. It's also a way to teach people skills. The internships are unpaid, unfortunately, and we don't have housing. And that's an issue something that we want to work on more, because we'll be able to attract people who don't have housing, from other areas, if we can help them out with that.
Is that something the community can help with? People stay
at
people's homes and things like that? Do you have a program?
We don't, but that's a great idea.
Oh, it's a thought. I know they do it in some schools, entertain or house students over the summer so they can go to summer school.
Right.
But it's a thought. But you get the word out. It's word of mouth, and people talk about it. As a volunteer at Stone Barns Center, I know that's a big part of your program. What can a person expect to be asked to do, or what could they learn, and how could they feel that they could contribute? Can you talk about what
I'd love to.
Volunteers?
Well, volunteers are the backbone of our organization. We love to have volunteers come and work with us. Basically, if people are interested in any aspect of the farm, we'll find a way for them to help us out. I can speak personally about the programs that I run, the school programs. I have about 15 very, very dedicated volunteers who work with me, some of whom have been working with me for 5 years. And many of these volunteers are retired teachers. Some of them aren't. And they can help out with programs. They give tours to the students. We train them in whatever it is that we're focusing on for a particular program. And they can volunteer basically whatever works for them. They can come once a month. They can come once a week. We have volunteers who work in the farm store. We have a store that's open Wednesday through Sunday where we sell a lot of theme-based
It's a wonderful store. Yeah.
gifts and T-shirts and pottery and just some beautiful items. So people volunteer there at the visitor center so they can give information. We have volunteers who do tours for the public. There are volunteers who work with the farmers. We have one volunteer who has been working at washing eggs. She's been doing this for years. She comes religiously every Tuesday and Thursday and washes eggs.
So if someone's interested in really being hands-on,
yes,
you would train them and okay, that's
right. I know
interesting.
Laura Perkins, who is one of the farmers who is responsible for landscaping in the dooryard garden, has a group of volunteers who have been coming and working with her every single Thursday. And she has this incredibly beautiful garden where she has annuals and perennials and vegetables. And without the volunteers, Laura wouldn't be able to pull that off. So so we're really lucky to have the volunteers who come and work with us. They're just a wonderful asset to our programs.
The dooryard garden is right near where you run the farmers market.
Yes.
And that's such it's a great experience.
Can I talk about the farmers market a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we have a farmers market that is seasonal. It starts the 1st of May and it goes through Thanksgiving. And it's Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. On Wednesday and Friday we have a members hour from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, so members at a certain level can come and shop a little early. Yes. and everything that's there is grown at the farm, very seasonal. So this past week, for example, at the farmers market there were some young radishes, some turnips, some kale, some salad greens, carrots. I think there were some nettles that had been foraged, and there was pork and lamb and eggs. So it's wonderful to be able to come. It's right on site, right in the dooryard garden.
It is, and you find things you're not used to seeing anywhere else, maybe, and it's the first time. And everyone's very knowledgeable. They tell you how to cook it.
Right, and everything is delicious.
Yeah, it's very fresh and wonderful. Yes.
Right, and on Wednesdays we have one of the chefs from Blue Hill Restaurant has some kind of a snack for people, a taste from the farm for people to
remember. Yes, that's nice. And of course, all this produce is used at the restaurant as well, right? So this is surplus.
Well, no, actually, it's not surplus. What the farmers do is they grow enough so that they can sell about half of what they grow to the restaurant and half to the public. Right. And that's a very deliberate plan so that there is enough for both customers.
Right. That's great. Okay.
You had some. I know you had some glossary terms you wanted to ask.
Oh well, yeah, that I did. I found that very interesting, and I was going to give you a quiz on that.
But I can also talk, I hadn't mentioned very much about the farmers. I mean, I'd like to talk a little bit.
I think that would be very interesting, the livestock area of the center, yes.
So probably the biggest asset of our farm, first of all, it's just a beautiful place to go to, but the farmers are absolutely incredible, dedicated people. And they're a young group of people who have been, Jack Algier, who was the Four Seasons grower, and his wife Shannon have been at the farm since probably 8 months before we opened. Craig Haney, 5 or 6 months before we opened. He's the livestock manager. And these folks are very, very, very intimately connected to what's happening throughout the world in terms of sustainable farming. And Jack focuses very much on having a garden and a farm that he runs without any kind of chemicals and pesticides. He and Greg Tree, who is our compost director, produces wonderful, wonderful compost where we are recycling all of our organic materials, including all the animal manures, and we're putting that back into the land to amend the soil and make the soil just even better than when it started. So even though we're not organically certified, we practice sustainable and organic methods. Jack grows mostly heirloom vegetables out in the field.
Yeah. I want to ask you about that. You're not organically certified. Right. Is there a reason for that? Yes. Why don't you tell us
there are a couple of reasons. One of which is that we feel like we do not need the certification to do what we're doing. Certification is it's a time-consuming process. It doesn't. I mean, organic certification is very important, particularly in large farms. Ours is a pretty small farm, and because we don't sell to anyone other than the restaurant and to people that come on the farm, there's no justification. We don't really need to have that piece of paper. And we're doing what we're doing in a very I think, a very viable and a very honest way. We do take the farmer's pledge, which is pledging that we're not going to be using any chemicals or pesticides. So we don't really feel like we need to have that certification. You know, at some point that might be something that we would pursue, but right now we don't feel like we need to do that.
Right, and so you only sell to the restaurant and in the farmer's market, but I thought also certain other outlets in the area.
Just a couple. We sell some greens to Tomatillas, which is a wonderful burrito restaurant in Dobbs Ferry, and there might be a couple of other small venues, but at this point, that's pretty much who we're selling to. And Craig Haney is he chooses animals that are sometimes endangered in terms of they're not being raised on many farms anymore, and those are heritage breeds. We grow heritage breeds, breed turkeys, Bourbon Reds. The Berkshire pork, the pigs that we raise, are a heritage breed, and these are animals that are are particular to a certain area. They might need some more tender, loving care than typically factory-raised animals, and they taste better. The chefs, Jack and Craig, both work with Dan Barber to decide on what they're going to grow. Dan will sometimes ask for a certain animal or plant, and Jack or Craig might say, "Hey, Dan, we'd like you to give this a try." So it's a very nice kind of balance. But we grow things that often are not typical in other farms.
Right. Is that what is meant by heritage foods then? They're a specific kind of, do they have a long history?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They come from other areas, perhaps,
right.
or
well, for example,
other countries. That's what I thought heritage foods were. That maybe people brought them over in past times.
Well, some of the domesticated farm animals that we grow do come from other countries, but the Bourbon Red turkey is a native turkey, and that's a turkey that has been raised mostly in the South for many years. It's closest in genetics to wild turkeys, so they're smarter than other turkeys. They can live they roost up in the trees at night. They can live in the woods, so their habitat is closely related to what wild animals are. That's another thing that we try to work on is just raising animals very humanely and try to mimic their natural habitat as much as possible. Yeah, so the heritage breed doesn't necessarily mean from another country. Sometimes it does mean from another country. It means that it has a history on a small farm, probably somewhere in a similar kind of habitat that Stone Barns has.
Is there a large internet? You said that the livestock managers keep touch on what's going on worldwide as far as sustainable farming goes. Is that something that's ongoing? Do they have a large input from worldwide?
We have a lot of people visit.
Yes.
We have a lot of people
really,
from all over the world visit. Many coming to the restaurant to meet with Dan, but many also coming to see how we're growing and raising food. We are trying to be very regional and very local in terms of this is something that works in suburban New York. It might not transfer to another farm in a more rural area, but these are some of the things that people can do.
But that's the whole point of sustainable farming, is that every place would be unique.
Right.
Are there places that you know of worldwide that are like Stone Barns Center?
We know that there is a wonderful farm in Vermont called Shelburne Farms. It's near Lake Champlain, and they've been in existence as an educational farm at least 25 years now, and they have a dairy farm operation. So they're raising cattle mostly for cheese. They have big cheese making, and they do have a beautiful site that's also kind of evocative of Stone Barns, and a very active school programs that when I was setting up our programs, I went and I visited them and spent some time with the director and the education people, and they're wonderful partners.
But again, what they grow and what they do is different than what we do here.
Right, and there are other sites that are very unique, and that's what makes what makes it very exciting is that people are doing things, trying out things, and we can be a resource to them, and we can also learn from them.
Right, and that's one of the things that's ongoing every day at the farm. I would imagine with the students coming in, whatever happens, they learn to deal with and how to handle it. So.
Yeah, and that's what's
great learning experience.
And that's what makes it fun. And we don't make up chores for the children. We involve the kids in whatever's happening at the farm. So if we need to have potatoes planted, we have the children participate in helping plant potatoes. If we need to have a bed weeded, they'll weed the beds. If we need eggs collected, we'll have the kids collect eggs. If it's pouring out, we're outside, because farmers have to be outside regardless of the weather.
weather.
So it's learning about adaptation and you know, what it's like to be a farmer, as well as, you know, having a lot of fun at the same time.
All right. Well, thank you very much for enlightening us.
My pleasure.
It's our pleasure to promote such a wonderful center. And I thought before we close, we might
quiz me, right?
Yes, give you some words and see if you can have something to say about them. So we did cover compost.
Right.
So how about in the farmers market we did? How about heirloom?
So heirloom varieties, actually, when we're talking about the plant world, it's very much like a heritage. So an heirloom variety is a plant that is treasured for a particular reason, and it's a plant or a seed that people have handed down from generation to generation. And so we have many heirloom varieties of vegetables and fruits, mostly out in our field. What's very special about heirloom plants is that you can save the seeds, and then you can plant that seed and you'll get the same plant over. So it's open pollinated. It's not a hybrid plant. You know, as a gardener, when you buy seeds from many seed companies, they're hybridized, which means that they have two different parents to have a new variety. When you save the seed from that, it'll go back to one of the parents, or have you'll end up with something totally different. Heirloom seeds, you can save them. We have some heirloom varieties of apple trees that have been grown in this area of New York State for hundreds of years. We have heirloom tomato plants. Some of them might not be an heirloom from New York. Some of them might be an heirloom from Italy, but we're trying it here, and they seem to grow pretty well. Often the heirloom varieties also don't ship well, so they are treasured for flavor, for color, for size, because they're very special. But an heirloom tomato, if you put it in on a truck and ship it 100, 200 miles, it'll be tomato sauce by the time it gets there. So.
How about rotation grazing?
Rotational grazing is a way of really keeping your pastures healthy and basically being grass farmers for animals. So we raise our animals on grass. Our sheep in particular are ruminants. That's all they need is grass. So if we move our sheep around our pastures and allow them to leave their manure there, and then move the chickens through, and the chickens are omnivores, will eat pretty much anything they can find, and also leave their manures, and then let the grass rest, the grass is going to grow back even more vibrant and healthier than before, and then we could rotate those animals through that pasture over and over again.
And that makes it sustainable.
Absolutely.
And when you grow a garden, you rotate your crops as well.
Right. And we do that in all of our growing operations as well. We have a rotational planting. Jack has a plan, a 7-year rotation. So they move in families throughout the field in the greenhouse.
All right. And then the last thing is buy local.
Right.
Right. So that means the farmers markets.
Right. And we know we're very lucky in Westchester that every year there seems to be another local farmers market. This year there was an indoor farmers market. Yes. That I mean, I'm a farmers market addict, I would say. So I buy as much produce as I can and meat from our farm. But then I go to my local markets, the Ossining and Pleasantville markets on the weekends, and I have a backyard vegetable garden as well. So. Yes,
I know that's important. Well, thank you very much,
Linda. It's been my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to come and talk here, and I hope that people come and visit our farm as often as they like.
I'm sure they will, and thank you for listening.